Most sales professionals are drowning in work, but they are starving for results. They're sending 100 emails per day. They're making about 50 cold calls a day. They're updating their CRM, attending internal meetings, working 10-hour days. And yet their pipeline is still empty. Here's what I learned in my 7+ years in sales. As an SDR, account executive, and now as the founder and owner of my own business. 80% of your results come from only 20% of your efforts. The problem is not that you're not working hard enough. The problem is you are working on the wrong things. Today, I'm going to show you 7 ways you can use the 80-20 framework in your current sales role to generate more pipeline and close more deals, but also work fewer hours. Let me paint a picture of the average sales rep's day. 9 o'clock, team huddle. 9:30, update the CRM. 10 a.m., send 25 LinkedIn connection requests. 11 a.m., make 50 cold calls. Noon, lunch at your desk while answering Slack messages. 1 p.m., prospect research, aka scrolling on LinkedIn aimlessly. 2 p.m., another internal meeting about your forecast. 3 p.m., send 100 cold email templates from 2019. 4 p.m., more CRM updates. 5 p.m., one discovery call that goes nowhere because you didn't prepare. Does all of this sound familiar? Here's the brutal truth. You are confusing activity with productivity. The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, states that 80% of your outcomes come from 20% of your inputs. In sales, that means 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. 80% of your meetings come from 20% of your outreach. 80% of your pipeline comes from 20% of your daily activities. So the question should not be, how can I do more? The question should be, how do I identify the 20% of what actually matters and ruthlessly eliminate everything else? Let me show you how. Rule number 1, focus on the 20% of accounts that will bring 80% of the revenue. When I started as an SDR, I made a classic mistake. I thought more accounts equals more sales opportunities. So I prospected anything and anyone. Startups, mid-market, enterprise, across all different industries. Different use cases as well. My activity was sky high, but my results were terrible. Here's what changed. I analyzed all my closed-won deals from the previous fiscal year and asked myself, which accounts had the largest deal size? Which deals closed the fastest? Which customers got the most value and were the least likely to churn? The pattern was pretty obvious. 80% of my revenue came from just 3 account types. Number 1, Series B plus SaaS companies with 100 to 500 employees. Number 2, companies actively hiring sales reps, which was a clear growth signal. And number 3, companies where I could identify at least 3 or more ideal buyer personas. So I disqualified about 80% of my entire book of business. Instead of 500 mediocre accounts, I focused on 100 high-fit accounts for the year. The result? 40% more meetings booked, 2 times higher demo to close rate, and faster sales cycles. And to quote one of my earlier mentors, Ian Cognac, it's better to go an inch wide and a mile deep than to go a mile wide and an inch deep. I couldn't have said it better. Rule number 2, 20% of data points drive 80% of relevance. Most sales professionals spend 20 to 30 minutes researching each prospect. They read the company's about page. They scroll through LinkedIn profiles. They check recent funding rounds. Then they read some blog posts. And then they write a message like this. Hey Sarah, saw you're hiring. Congrats on the recent funding. Would love to chat about how we help companies like yours scale. You just spend 30 minutes researching to write the same generic message everybody else sends. Here's the truth. You don't need 20 different data points. You only need 2. Here's the only research that matters. Number 1, a recent trigger event with a high business impact. For example, a new funding round, which means they're hiring and spending money. Or a job post for sales roles, which means their team is growing and they need tools and training. Or number 3, a recent product launch, which means a new strategic direction for the company. Or lastly, an executive leadership change, which means there's a new person with new priorities and budget decision power. And then the other thing is one personal detail that shows you're a human. For example, a shared connection you have with the prospect, a similar background, or a deep commonality that you share, or a recent post they made or commented on. Or the best case is a podcast where they went on or an article that they published. That's it. 2 data points, and that should give you a maximum of 3 to 5 minutes to find out. A lot of sales reps tend to over-research. I think that is a form of procrastination. Research time does not book your meetings, outreach does. Rule number 3, 20% of problems you solve deliver 80% of the impact. Here's a mistake I see every single day. Sales reps lead with their solution instead of the problem. We help sales teams book more meetings with AI-powered outreach. Okay, but what problem does that solve? Nobody buys solutions to problems they don't even know they have. Your job as a seller is not to pitch your product. Your job is to describe their problem so accurately that they feel like you're reading their mind. Here's how I do it. Step 1, identify the top 3 problems your product solves. Step 2, describe each problem in painful, triggering detail. And step 3, lead with the problem, not the solution. What you need to do next is build a solid problem statement. Let's say you sell sales enablement software. A weak problem statement might sound something like this. Your sales reps struggle with productivity. A stronger problem statement could sound something like this. Your account executives are spending 4 hours per day on admin work, updating the CRM, searching for content, writing up follow-up emails. That's 20 hours per week that they're not selling. At a 200,000 per year quota, that's 80,000 in lost revenue per rep per year. Did you spot the difference there? The second problem statement is specific, 4 hours per day, 20 hours per week. It's also quantified, 80,000 in lost revenue per year. And it's painful. They feel it immediately as you describe the problem. And if you do this well, prospects don't need convincing. They realize that they need a solution. The lesson is this: obsess over your problem statements. Describe your prospect's problem so vividly and in so much detail that they cannot ignore it. Rule number 4, 20% of objections appear in 80% of your conversations. Every sales rep hears the same objections over and over. I'm not interested. Call me in 6 months. Send me an email. We already have a vendor. This is not a priority right now. We don't have budget. Most sales reps really struggle to overcome these common objections. Why? Because they haven't rehearsed their rebuttals. Here's what top performers do in sales. They identify the top 5 objections they hear most often, and they build word-for-word rebuttals for each one. Let me give you an example. Objection: we already have a vendor. A weak response: oh, okay, no problem. Feel free to reach out if that changes. You just gave up. A strong rebuttal: that's great to hear. What solution are you currently using? And then you wait for the answer. Got it. And what made you choose them in the first place? And wait for the answer. Makes sense. A lot of our customers were in the same place 6 to 12 months ago. And what they found was that while their current solution handled X really well, it struggled with Y and Z. Is that something that you've noticed? Did you notice what just happened? I didn't argue. I didn't pitch. I asked follow-up questions that opened up the conversation. Now, here's the key. This rebuttal is rehearsed. I didn't come up with it on the spot. I practiced it 50 times until it became natural. Here's what I recommend. Step 1, write down the 5 most common objections you hear. Step 2, write a word-for-word rebuttal for each of them. Step 3, practice saying them out loud until they feel natural. Step 4, role play them with a colleague or your manager and record yourself. The best sales reps don't wing it, they prepare. Rule number 5, 20% of discovery questions brings 80% of insights. Let's be honest, most discovery calls feel like a waste of time for the buyer. The seller asks them 30 surface level questions. The buyer then gives 30 superficial answers, and nobody walks away with anything useful from the conversation. Here's the truth. You don't need 30 discovery questions. You only need 5 good ones. Here are the 5 questions I ask on every discovery call. Number 1, what's your number 1 goal or priority right now? This helps understand if you're competing against other internal initiatives. Question number 2, what's the biggest challenge or obstacle getting in the way? This gets them talking about pain. Question number 3, what have you tried so far to solve this problem? This reveals what hasn't worked and also why. Question 4, what happens if you don't solve this in the next 6 months? This helps you quantify the cost of an action, which by the way is the main driver for buying decisions. Question number 5, who else should we involve in the next step? This identifies stakeholders early and helps you multi-thread the account. That's it, 5 questions. But here's the key, these aren't random questions. They're designed to, number 1, uncover pain. Number 2, establish urgency. Number 3, understand the decision-making process. So the lesson is, stop asking 30 mediocre questions. Ask 5 good ones and go deep on them. Rule number 6, 20% of demo features create 80% of customer value. Here's a mistake I see in almost every sales demo. The sales rep tries to show everything, every feature, every integration, every use case. And by the end of the demo, the prospect is overwhelmed and confused. Here's the reality. Prospects don't care about all of your features. They care about the one thing that solves their biggest problem. Here's how I structure every demo. Step 1, start with your number 1 differentiator. Lead with the wow moment. Show them your strongest feature or capability. You know, the one that separates you from the rest. Step 2, tie every other feature back to their specific pain. Don't say, this feature does X. Say, remember when you said Y was a problem? This feature solves that by doing X. Step 3, keep it under 20 minutes. Short demos keep attention high. Leave them wanting more, not less. That's it. One feature, tied directly to their pain, show it 3 minutes into the demo. By the time you show them the rest of the product, they're already sold. Here's the lesson. Don't demo everything your product can do. Demo the 20% that creates 80% of the value. And finally, rule number 7, 80% of results can be achieved in 20% of your time. Here's the hard truth. Most of what you do every day does not move the needle towards your quota. Updating the CRM does not create pipeline. Attending internal meetings does not create pipeline. Sending generic emails or LinkedIn messages does not create pipeline. So what does create pipeline? There are only 2 activities that directly drive revenue. Generating pipeline, outbound that's highly targeted and personalized, and 2, progressing that pipeline, meaning discovery calls, demos, proposals, negotiations. Everything else is noise. Before applying the 80-20 rule, 8 hours of work, 2 hours on revenue generating activities, 6 hours on everything else. After applying the 80-20 rule, 2 to 3 hours of focused work, 2 to 3 hours on needle moving activities. Everything else is eliminated or delegated. And here's what this looks like in practice. 9 to 10 a.m., prospect into 10 high fit accounts with very personalized outreach. 10 to 11, follow up with 15 warm leads in your pipeline with LinkedIn voice notes or video notes. 11 to noon, 2 30-minute discovery calls. That's it. That's 3 hours. And in those 3 hours, you've reached out to 25 prospects. You've had 2 very meaningful conversations and you moved multiple deals forward. The rest of your day, you can spend on internal meetings, CRM updates, whatever else needs to get done. But your revenue generating work is already done at the beginning of the day. Here's the lesson. Identify the 20% of your activities that create 80% of your results and prospect that time ruthlessly. Everything else is secondary. Let me be clear about something. The 80-20 principle is not about working less. It's about working smarter. Most sales reps are drowning in noise. Tools that promise shortcuts, managers demanding higher activity levels, processes that slow them down, and they confuse being busy with being effective. Busy means 100 cold emails, 50 cold calls, and 0 meetings. Effective means 25 personalized DMs, 3 discovery calls, 2 deals progressed. The 80-20 framework forces you to ask one question constantly. Is this activity moving me closer to revenue? If the answer is no, stop doing it. If the answer is yes, do more of it. That's the difference between top performers in sales and everybody else. Top performers have the discipline to say no to distractions and focus on what actually matters. Here's what I want you to do this week. Step 1. Audit your time. Track every activity in your calendar for 1 week. Identify what's actually moving the needle. Step 2, cut down 50% of your activity. Eliminate low-value tasks. Try to delegate or automate or eliminate what you can. Step 3, double down on the 20%. Spend more time on fewer but higher quality interactions with your prospects. Let me know how it goes in the comments. And if you want more frameworks like this, proven systems that generate real pipeline without burning out, hit the subscribe button on this channel. Every week, I break down the exact strategies I used to close millions in revenue at Salesforce and that I now teach to sales teams around the world. Now stop watching YouTube and go focus on the 20% that matters.